Okay, well, right. Well, thank you, David, and thank you, everybody else, for the warm welcome this evening. I think I'll just start by saying that you might be wondering where Chelwood Bridge is. It's about 6 miles south of Bristol, on the edge of the very beautiful Chew Valley, a tourist area that we keep to ourselves, so we don't like people stopping. We like them to go on down the M5 to Devon, Cornwall. But it's a beautiful place. It doesn't have any large towns. It's all small villages, which makes the dynamic of the club somewhat different. But this project, the Water Survival Box, is a club project, um, but it is in fact a limited company and a registered UK charity. Um, so we sort of separated it from the club. We started at the time of the Asian tsunami in 2004. If you'll remember, that awful day, Boxing Day 2004. At that time, we were the go-to club in District 1200 for Aquabox. So the world poured in on our doorstep immediately after that, as you'd imagine. And to cut a long story short, we ended up packing some 3,200 Aquaboxes, and which we mostly sent to Sri Lanka and Indonesia, with help from Aquabox themselves. When you do that many boxes, you learn a lot about packing boxes and delivery and all the rest of it. So we had some ideas which we took to suggest that we felt that people who had lost everything in a disaster should get new stuff, not secondhand, because we did have to throw away a lot. We also suggested that they ought to be going by air because we needed to get them there quickly. Aquabox were very happy with their business operation at the time. Well, they have changed to the same model now. So we decided to start our own project, this new box, which we called Water Survival Box. And we got some help from Shelter Box as well to get us started with contacts and the rest of it. So that's where we started from. It took us a couple of years to get going, but in 2006 we created this charity, which runs today. So what is our yeah. So this is what we're trying to do. It's about getting the relief out there quickly, giving hope to people. So anytime there's a disaster in the world, whether it's a natural one or a man-made one, we're focusing on whether we can help and what we do by way of help. See later in this talk some of the places that we've sent boxes to. But that's our fundamental aim, is to give hope to victims of disasters. And the key part of the whole operation is access to safe water. We include a filter, which I'll tell you about in a minute, which will make water safe to drink in almost all circumstances. And finally, we just want to help people get going again. So we've developed a box with content similar to Aquabox, which do just that. So that's what it looks like when it's laid out nicely on the store. And you'll see cooking items at the top there. There's some rope, there's tarpaulin, there's tools, there's hygiene items. There's something like 50 to 60 items that get packed into the box. But the number one item above all is the water filter. And this is what it looks like. It's a British-made filter. It's made in the Northeast. The guy who runs the business and the charity that runs alongside it is a Rotarian, John Griffith, and he is a good friend of ours, and we've worked with him on a number of different occasions. So this is what it does. It basically will treat up to 200,000 litres of water safely. So it will take out polio, cholera, typhoid, those sort of pathogens out of dirty water. When disasters happen, you really don't know what the condition of the water is. It might still be coming out of the tap, okay, but you don't know what it's being treated as at the other end. So sometimes, of course, there is no water, it's just puddles and so on. So this is the sort of key fundamental element to the whole piece, really. We knew there are no chemicals involved in this pump. If you see one, you'll just see thousands of tiny pipes, thousands of tiny holes in that you can't see with the naked eye, when that's enough to get rid of the pathogens. And it delivers about 120 litres an hour through the blue top pump there. And literally a child of 5 or 6 could pump out the water quite easily. There's no pressure virtually required to get the pump going. It is for drinking water only, so you wouldn't be doing too much of it. It's got a very simple building mechanism, cleaning mechanism built in. Basically, you reverse the process of pumping water out, and it back flushes the pipes and tips the dirty water back into the container that you've got filthy water in to start with. And again, it's good to go. If you do that every day, it'll last 5 years and do, as I said, 200,000 litres of water. And it costs us £40, just under. And I think for £40 for 200,000 litres of water is a pretty good deal. So that's the product. And around that, we add all the other items you saw in the previous picture, which are basically the things you need if you've lost everything in a disaster. And we see that in a lot of situations. Everything is gone. So we focus on rapid deployment. There's a few images of how we get relief out. We don't send anybody to disasters. We use in-country professional aid agencies. We've developed a relationship with a number of them. And we insist that whoever takes them on for us guarantees rapid clearance of customs, and we use air freight wherever we can. We can't use it in places like Syria. I'll tell you just what happened last week about Lebanon. I tried to book a flight to Lebanon to Beirut from Heathrow. I got a quota of £132,000, £40,000 of which was war insurance. Needless to say, those will be going by ship at £3,000. But that's the sort of issue. Air freight wherever we can. Usually we get it very cheaply or free of charge. But getting clearance from customs, we have a very simple policy in the company. We do not pay any in-country payments. So once the goods arrive on the dockside or on the airport, it's down to the delivery mechanism to pick up any storage costs, delivery costs, and all the rest of it. And that's worked pretty well over the years. So how does it work, getting stuff out? Well, every day in my emails, just around 5 p.m., I get a message from a UN agency telling me about disasters that have happened that day and upcoming ones such as typhoons and hurricanes. And I can look at that, decide with my colleague trustees just how we deal with it. We have a depot in a big transport warehouse where we pack them. This is a group of Rotarians. Nearly all the packing is done by volunteers, Rotarians and Inner Wheel. Sometimes we have schools in, sometimes we have local companies, sometimes we have scouts and so on, but mostly it's Rotarians. And the trustees of Water Survival Box provide the management of the day, and then we have 6 visitors who will pack 60 boxes in 2 hours. And that's £9,000 worth of stock. So when they go on the shelf, we have to look at replacing that £9,000 worth of stock. Once we get the terms and conditions signed up and we agree the delivery and we get the transport arranged, then they're picked up and put on a lorry. We're fortunate that our landlords provide us with forklift trucks to get the stuff onto a lorry. It'll be 10 pallets on there, 200 boxes. And then off they go. And these are pictures of arrival. This is arrival in Manila. So they landed at the airport, taken to the docks by lorry, put on the Philippines Navy ship you can see there in the background. And then after that, they were taken on to be delivered. And this is just a couple of examples of delivery. This is delivery by one of our agencies into a refugee camp, probably in the east of Africa, I guess, or Syria. This is transporting them in the Philippines. So, as you know, Philippines is lots of islands. So sometimes we need to get the boxes across waterways and they go on little canoes like this. Sometimes they go on the back of a bike and occasionally they go on people's heads. I've got pictures of them being carried on people's heads, and they're not light. I wouldn't want to put one on my head for long. They're about 18 kilos, those boxes. So taking on a bike's a fair challenge, I'd say, especially with no tarmac. But we get them there somehow. It's easy to forget that a lot goes on once they leave us to get them in the hands of the people who need them. One of the things we insist upon that the delivery relief agencies do for us is train the users, the victims, in how to use the filter. So here you see an Arab in Syria being shown how to use the filter, pump water out of the box. So they do a little training session, and this guy actually made a video on his phone, which we've got now in Arabic, so we can send that to any delivery in Arabic countries. The rest of the instructions for the pump come in 4 languages and are both written and pictorial in case people can't read. So our impact has been pretty big, I think, in the 20 odd years we've been running. 88 disasters we responded to in 44 countries. We would probably do 2 to 3 times that many if funding was more, a much higher rate. But we get what we get, and we have to deal with that. But we are funded well at the moment, so thanks to some help from some partners. That's how many boxes we've delivered. On top of that, there were 3,000 aqua boxes. And that's how much money we've raised, which for a small club in Somerset, it's not bad going in 20 odd years. We're very proud of the fact that we've managed all those numbers. So here's a map of where we sort of sent the boxes, and there are sort of patterns here. If you start in the Caribbean, you've got hurricane season, typical to the islands. We tend not to respond to Florida because the US, well, A, it looks after itself pretty well, and B, it's very picky about what's in the box, and they start telling us what to take out, so we don't bother with them. Then the rest of it is the San Andreas Fault going down through South America. So that's nearly all earthquakes and some flooding, but mostly earthquakes. Most of Africa is flooding all around the place. Morocco was an earthquake, of course. We responded to 2 lots there. Yemen's a war. Syria's a war and an earthquake. We've got Ukraine in the top, and Serbia. And then the subcontinent of India and its surrounding countries is nearly all monsoon flooding. And Sri Lanka is earthquake, and Malaysia, Indonesia is earthquakes, and Thailand, Myanmar, Philippines, and Vietnam, Taiwan are all hurricanes and cyclones. So that's a fairly big spread. We can tell where some of them are coming because weather patterns are seasonal cyclones, hurricanes. We know where they're going to appear. The Caribbean runs off in another month. The Philippines will start up. It has already started, so that'll run through till Christmas and so on. So what have we been doing? I've taken the sort of fixed point of March 22, which was when the Ukraine war started, because we've made a big effort in Ukraine, and nearly everything in Ukraine has been delivered by Rotary, as opposed to other NGOs. And this is what we've delivered: 780 full boxes, 2,100 filters, just filters on their own. Nearly all of the filters have been sent to the front line. I've got a video of soldiers on the front line showing their troops how to use the filter in a ditch or in a trench that's been waterlogged, and they just stick them straight in the water, pump away, drink it, away you go. They like it because there's no water to be carried. They're very light, a couple of pounds. 1,170 solar lamps. We had a big stock of solar lamps at the start of the war, and at the same time, the airlines decided that solar lamps, because they've got a very tiny lithium battery in them, were dangerous goods. We had to label all our boxes dangerous goods, which defeated the object. So we took them all out and we sent them to Ukraine, where they were used initially in the shelters, and nowadays in villages where there's no power. And we tested the pallet network you may have seen there, Oris, with 3 pallet loads of toothbrushes and toothpaste, because we had a lot. They wanted to see what it was like to get a lorry into Ukraine on a test run. We supplied 3 pallets to help them, and it worked really well. We have a contact in Ukraine called Boris Bodnar. He's a Ukrainian, but he spent his early life in Bristol, so he knows the area well. He knows us well, and he's unbelievably. He does all the water-related relief for Ukraine coming into the country, and he's absolutely brilliant at getting stuff in across the border and then onto wherever it's needed. Remarkable of that guy. But also since then, we've done quite a lot of other stuff. So South Africa was a Rotary distribution through a friend of mine. I met David through training leaders, um, a guy called Nick Phillips, and he approached me and said, "Have you got any boxes spare?" And we had a lot of flooding, and we sent 400. Pakistan was a monsoon. Turkey, Syria was an earthquake. Sudan was displaced people, war zone. Morocco was two earthquakes there, and Somalia again is a war zone. So we're responding to these at the moment. Currently, I'm waiting for a lorry to pick up 300 to go to Nepal, and I'm waiting for confirmation price on ship to take 300 to Lebanon. So we're busy at the moment. That will take our stock down to about 300. But I guarantee you within another week or so, we'll have another one to send boxes to. Um, so I said we work with other people. We don't have any of our own people. So this is who we work with. Just ignore the top, well, the Rotary, one of the Rotary International. We started using Rotary a lot in the early days, but we've less and less used them nowadays because mainly Rotarians are not professional aid workers, and they're often wrapped up in the disaster themselves with their families and whatever you. So we've tended to go to agencies like Red Cross and Humanity First, International Medical Corps, who now deliver most of our stuff, and they're all top quality people. We know them, we've met them at their UK depots, and they deliver exactly as we want. The two other logos on there, Rotary Switzerland and Denmark, we met some Swiss, so we first met some Danish referees at an institute. We spoke out in Sweden, and they were quite taken and ultimately decided to support us and start a little charity in Denmark. And they met some Swiss Rotarians on the ski slopes, and they were interested. And since then, we've developed a really strong relationship with Swiss, and they now have Rotary Water Survival Box. Switzerland has a separate charity in Switzerland who just do fundraising. And for the last 2 years, they've contributed 50% of everything we've spent on getting boxes out. So if I send 200 boxes out, that's £30,000 worth of stock and costs. They will send 15,000 straight away, which you can imagine has transformed our cash flow and enabled us to do many, many more boxes than we would have done just raising them separately. School in a Bag is a local charity to us. It provides school bags with kits and pencils and books and stuff for children. So those are the main charities that we use, and we've been pretty effective. We also work with Aquabox. This is a picture from Yemen. We both sent 500 boxes on a container to the war zone. We're good friends with Aquabox, and we frequently speak to them about deliveries. This was one. I quite like this picture where both the boxes are ours are the red and blue ones, and theirs are all blue, are lined up ready to go. This is our website where you can get almost weekly updates on what we're doing. So every time we move anything or anything happens at the other end, we put a little story on, we get some pictures back from the delivery end and try to keep people up to date with what we do. What I do need to say about the organisation is that we are totally volunteers. We have no overheads other than our rent for the property and a small amount on publicity and attending conferences occasionally. But if you compare us with almost any other charity, we don't employ anybody at all, which makes life really easy on all sorts of fronts. But the website is where everything lives about the operation. You can download materials, posters, PowerPoints, all sorts of stuff. There's one on there for school children as well, if you're visiting schools. And they're the sort of stories you can see where they are on their different places. And that scrolls down to going back a couple of years. This is the Swiss end of it. The Swiss are, as I said, remarkable fundraisers. I went out to Switzerland last year, their invitation to watch the Run for Life in Lucerne. And this is a very short fun run. It's actually just under 2 kilometers. But Lucerne, being Swiss and very organized, managed to get through 80,000 participants in a day. which is quite astonishing when you think about it. Um, Rotary had 160 people, Water Survival of Switzerland had 160 sponsored runners, and they raised £113,000 on one day, which is quite staggering. So we're well funded through those guys, and they're coming over to us next year. We have board meetings every quarter to keep each other up to date with what's going on. And then, this is the Danish one. They provide funding when we need it. We just make an appeal to them and they send money. They're really good. They have been to visit our depot to come and pack some boxes. People love packing boxes. David will tell you because he's done it. They brought a car boot full of Lego put in the boxes. I've never seen so much Lego in my life. We filled probably 200 boxes with it. This stuff. It was amazing. So this is a video that was sent to us by Humanity First, Hand in Hand for Development in Syria. It's a joint venture with Aquabox, as you'll see. There we are, very short, but it does tell a story. So, in kind of summary, we were started by one guy, one member of our club. He subsequently has been awarded the OBE for his efforts. He got it going. He drove the project initially, and then I was founder trustee along with 6 or 7 others, and we've now got up to 10 trustees. We're looking to recruit newer ones, younger ones, more Alan's age than mine, because these boxes do take some shifting, and I can't pick them up anymore. Um, we've as I said, we are volunteers. We have little overhead, very, very low. So you know that any money that comes into us pretty well goes into a box. We can proudly say that with the records we got, which are public. We rely on Rotary hugely. We get big funding from the public when it's on TV. We've got good relationships with local BBC Points West. They come and do stories from us if there's a major disaster, and they're really good at getting the money up. But once it disappears off TV screens, the money drops like a stone. It just collapses. But Rotary keeps coming, it keeps bringing money into us all the time. What else can I tell you about the organisation? It's fun to be in. Everybody who comes says what a wonderful thing it is to actually pack a box and have those hands-on Rotary. A lot of fellowship, no end of banter if you come to our depot and have some fun with us. But at the end of the day, we're trying to do what we say there: transform lives, get people started again. I've been to the Philippines post a disaster. I know firsthand exactly what it looks like and feels like to be in these camps and to lose everything when your house was a cardboard and tin shack and it's not there anymore and everything's gone out to sea. pretty heartbreaking. But we are determined to carry on. We will keep going as long as we can, and we'll enjoy what we're doing. If you've got any questions, I didn't tell you it costs £150 for the box, which includes the air freight at all times. So if you've got any questions, I'll be very happy to try and answer them. Or Alan will.
Thank you, Tony. I think I've muted everybody, so I'm now going to stop the recording.